Podcast.
Halloween and horror. Served chilled.
Shock Tales.
Welcome one, welcome all to the best dive bar in the Netherrealm, aka the last bar on the left. Get your ass in here and let Scully serve you up a high-octane glass of horror on the rocks with a twist. The cover charge is to like, subscribe, follow, comment, give us a 5-star review, but most importantly, to share Hauntcast with at least one fellow Halloween or haunt fiend that you know. Follow me down to the back booth and I'll introduce you to a man who was recently implicated by Cassie as the lead freak in the P. Diddy freak-off scandal. It's our master of horror disaster, MC Johnny Thunder.
Master of Disaster. I like that one.
I know. Yeah. Why I wasted all the time doing that big build up for only one quick little review, but hey, there you go.
Our dozens of fans appreciate that.
See, I'll always bring it for the two people who show up. Anyway.
I appreciate that. Again, if you got one person that laughs, that's one person that laughs. Yeah. Masturbatory humor sometimes is okay. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? I know what you're going to do. I think you're going to review something, are you not?
Yes, I am. I'm going to review Clown in a Cornfield. So, everybody, welcome back to The Last Bar on the Left. As the genius said, my name is Johnny Thunder, and this is everyone's 5th or 6th or 7th favorite segment on Hauntcast. It's Shock Tales. So here we are. I'm going to serve it up for that 1 or 2 or 12 people out there. As Chris said, I caught Clown in a Cornfield.
They're really big on tradition around here.
Every year, there's this parade where everyone gathers around a Friendo float.
Friendo?
It's the clown on all the Bay Pen corn syrup labels. He's practically a local legend.
There's a psycho dressed up like Friendo, trying to kill us!
From writer-director Eli Craig, who we know from Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which is one of, I think we love.
I loved.
Yeah.
I still watch it yearly. It's a regular in my collection.
I was going to say, I haven't seen it in a while, and I was like, I'm going to go back and watch that. So it's based on the Adam Cesare YA novel of the same name. It's an R-rated action, comedy, horror, slasher, following this high school student, Quinn, and her doctor father, who moved from, of all places, Philly, out to a small town called Kettle Springs. I think it's in, Missouri, some place in the Midwest. So the local town's fallen into hard times. The local corn syrup factory is shut down, actually just recently burned down, and they have this problem with, this serial killer named Friendo. So the town itself they move into is a little bit stayed in its ways. It's kind of fallen on hard times. And you have sort of the adults and you have the old crowd who want to keep it the way it was and kind of rebuild it back to its glory from maybe the 40s or 50s. Then you've got the young people from the high school who are kind of bored with the place. They can't wait to blow town. And they're trying to look for something different. They're doing YouTube videos. They're doing viral stuff. And they just can't wait to either effect change in town or move on. So that's kind of the background for the film, right? So you've got this tension between the adults, the old school, you've got the kids, the new school, and then of course, throw in a, serial clown killer. Why not? Right? So against that whole backdrop, you've got the town founding Father's Day parade, and then after that, all the kids decide to go out to an old farmhouse, and of course, what do kids want to do when they're in the middle of nowhere and want to have some fun? Well, they throw a barn rave, and so it's full of booze and drugs and premarital sex and all kinds of craziness. And well, of course, what happens? Well, there's a killer clown. So if you've read the book, it kind of follows the same thing. If not, there's some changes. I would say, look, it's a fun popcorn flick. Okay, it's got the sensibilities, which what we said we loved Tucker and Dale, which was fun. And again, I'm not a big fan of horror comedy, but I think they kind of nailed it. The performances were actually pretty good. So you've got, again, a bunch of annoying teenagers, which, again, they're supposed to be annoying. You've got the stuck-up old fogey parents who, again, are, of course, my age or younger. And it's pretty much everything you want to see in kind of like a fun, light popcorn slasher flick. There's nothing new or inventive or crazy about it. They have the setup. Like I said, the girl comes to a small town. She's introduced. We see the town through her eyes, and we meet all these characters, and you see what's going on. It was fun. Like I said, I had even said to you, I was glad I went to see it. I don't know that I'm gonna necessarily go out of my way to see it again. It was fun. It was enough. Now, the clown itself, which you said, Friendo is a great character, great haunt kind of a vibe. And you've
Not
got
to be confused with Fisto.
No, that's probably out of those magazines in your dirty sock drawer that you probably have to burn before you cross state lines when you move. But there's a couple kills in the beginning where he takes out a couple of the teenagers, and the first sequence is actually pretty suspenseful, kind of Halloween-esque, and it's pretty cool. The second one is actually pretty inventive, and I really dug that kill. And then after that, like I said, it's pretty much all the kids are out at this barn party out in the cornfields. And frankly, the image of a clown chasing teenagers through a cornfield with a chainsaw. I mean, what else invokes completely haunt season, right? I was like, this is awesome. So there's a lot of fun visuals. The character himself is fun. There's, of course, this big plot twist at the end, and you can kind of see it coming from a mile away. I would say you'd have to be pretty dumb not to see it. So saying that, genius, I think you'll even see the plot twist coming early on.
Even me?
Even you. Believe it or not. So, like I said, I think it was pretty well done, and there's enough laughs, there's enough scares, and the acting is pretty good. And I also have to give a scream out because I was actually surprised. I didn't know he was in this, but Will Sasso from Mad TV, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Sasso plays the sheriff in this movie. And I was like, oh my God, it's Will Sasso. So it kind of took me out of it because I'm a big fan of his and I didn't know he was in this. So it was good. Like I said, and the only weird thing is too is it clocks in about an hour and a half. And I'm always like, well, this movie's too long. Or like last time we talked about, I forget what the hell we just talked about, and we said, it could cut out 20 minutes or cut out 15 minutes. This one I was actually like, maybe give the thing a little bit more time to breathe and build a little bit more into it. But otherwise, again, you've got characters that are just super annoying, right? But that's the point of them.
You kind of want them to die.
Yeah, and that's right
to their death.
Right. And that
you're like, I want them to die. Get them.
Right, and that was kind of the fun part where some of these, especially the chicks, you were just like, Jesus Christ, can she get her head cut off? And there were, like I said, there were a couple of kills. I'm not going to get into too many, but there was one in the beginning, the one dude's lifting weights, and I'm not going to get into how he gets killed. But there's also one girl who's running through the cornfield, and her death was actually pretty spectacular, which I know sounds completely batshit crazy, but it was pretty cool. So if you're looking for a fun popcorn flick, don't expect too much out of it. Don't go in expecting too much, really in terms of new vibe, new characters, new storyline. And what I would say is this almost could have been a maybe like a Nickelodeon Are You Afraid of the Dark, like Halloween movie, if you take out the sex and the booze and the alcohol and the cursing. But that's not...
Well, that was all behind the scenes in Nickelodeon.
Right? Oh, my God. Yeah, so like I said, it wasn't...
Poor iCarly and...
Oh, my God. Okay, Weinstein, hold that thought. I thought we were trying to be... Yeah, I thought we were trying to be a little more family friendly, but like I said, it was fun. I wouldn't expect too much out of it. I wouldn't pay for it. I wouldn't go out to the movies to check it out. If you see that it's on streaming on something that you already have, or if you read the book, I would say check it out. You know, I don't know if they're going to try to adapt, you know, because I think there's like 3 books in the series. I don't know if they're going to go ahead and try to do that. But if you like clowns, you like chainsaws, you like slasher flicks, and you're just looking for something kind of dumb, have a couple beers, have a pizza, hang out, build some props, I think this is a good flick.
Sweet. Yeah. The only thing, I reached out to you and I said, hey, man, I'm not sure if it's playing anywhere around here. Should I go see it? And you were like, you could catch it streaming. That was the comment to me, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I guess I'm not going to rush out there. Yeah. It sucked, don't see it. You were like, yeah, you don't really need to pay for it. But if you,
I wasn't mad. And like I said, there was a lot of cool visuals, and I actually was really happy. Again, like we talked about, my God, 150 years ago, the Piranha remake, right? Where I said, like, everyone, like, played it so straight. And that's what was, like, so great about that movie, because it was just dumb. But
yeah, oh, absolutely. I remember we were both like loving it, because we were just like, it was so over the top. It was so ridiculous.
Right.
And we were all for it. We were all in, right?
And that's
I was getting messages. I remember I got a message from one of the guys who, you know, was a so-called sponsor of the show. And he was like, me and a bunch of people walked out of the theater and this and that. I'm like, okay,
well,
whatever,
you missed the
man.
point.
Like, yeah,
you missed the point.
Like, I don't know what you were looking for.
Right.
Piranha fucking 3D or whatever.
And
I don't know what you were expecting.
Well,
like, you see a name, Clown in the Cornfield. Are you looking for the Grapes of Wrath? I don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, this isn't Meryl Streep stuff, but all of the actors are really good, and that's what, like I said, I admire about it. Like, they know what they're doing, right? They know what the script is, they know what the plot is, but they're playing it completely straight. Because if you buy into it, or you're too hammy, or you act it up too much, and you make it a parody, it doesn't work. So when you have, like, a ridiculous situation, but you're playing it completely serious and completely straight, like you're doing, you know, friggin' Hamlet, that's when you have something completely preposterous come out of the blue, and you're like, that's why the punchline works, right? That's completely why I really enjoy the performances. So yeah, like I said, it wasn't original, it wasn't necessarily anything new, but I don't necessarily think that they were trying to do anything crazy or new. So I think it has the same sensibilities as Tucker and Dale, and it has a lot of, like I said, good characters, good camera work. The clown is really, like I said, a good costume. I would not be surprised if there's already, you know, friendo masks or costumes out there, or if somebody's going to do one either at their home haunt or a pro haunt. And that's where I'm always looking at it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a good, you know, again, killer clown with a chainsaw, I think, is pretty much a staple in most haunts.
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, the visual of a clown running through a cornfield with a chainsaw in the air with kids screaming is just pure haunt season. So that's my review.
Awesome.
Like it or not.
Okay.
So if we had sponsors, I'd say go F yourselves, but thankfully we don't have sponsors.
Yeah. Keeping it sponsor free, commercial free, kids.
Yeah.
Another 5 in a row. Commercial free.
2 for Tuesday.
Another rock block.
Oh, God. I hope everybody else that was into radio back in the day understands all these jokes. Oh, God.
Anyway.
Oh,
all right, man.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you.
All right, let's wrap this shit up then.
All right. As always, everybody, thank you for listening. This is Johnny Thunder with
Baker,
reminding you to stay scared.
Please like, subscribe, comment, give us a 5-star review, share with friends, and buy us a beer if you see us out in the wild. Follow us on Instagram at huntcast.podcast for show updates, as well as more pictures and video content. Also, like and follow our Huntcast Facebook page. Listen to the entire back catalog of our audio podcasts, available on all podcast platforms, with over 550 segments now available. Until next time, stay scary.